Alright gamers, what's good? Welcome back to tier list updating, in which I'm gonna remember to, I guess, I don't know what I can do with my webcam to make it not in the way of the tier list. There, I guess. Less likely to be in the way anyways. So, okay, before we start, let me just make some adjustments to the existing thing, because we have actually had stands have their abilities more elaborated upon. Astral Domination, we now pretty much know exactly how it works. So let me go ahead and get that real quick. Okay, so Astral Domination, now that we know how it works, which is basically it sends something to that, fourth dimensional pocket dimension, and then it, drops back out or whatever eventually. So as a utility, it's, really weird and situational and difficult to control, but it's good at just, getting rid of something from the immediate present, so I'd say it's around average, C tier. And for combat, it's also pretty average, I'd say, but it does have, surprise attack potential, so maybe, B tier. And it can also just completely send an opponent away if you really want to. And then, Dead or Alive has technically been elaborated upon, but I won't actually move that up until it's seen in action. Diamond is Unbreakable. I've known its power for a while, but it only recently got revealed. Basically, SS tier in utility, or S+, whatever. And, for combat, it's just it's just rather powerful for a normal, punch and ghost type stand, so I guess A tier. Yeah, and then Oscar Mayer Wiener has also been, actually demonstrated now. So let me, move that. So for utility, it makes things into hot dogs. So for combat, it's it does have combat uses, but that's not really its purpose, and And then for utility, it makes things into hot dogs, which is whatever. Okay, so now that we have this started, man, I'm gonna need to scrunch C tier there, ain't I? Oof. Okay, ignore that, I'm just, okay. This is gonna be one mess of a tier list episode, because a lot of whack stuff is going on here. Motherfucker, can you load? Jesus. Okay, anyways. Yeah, a lot of these I need to check what they do, because, oof. Yeah, fuck off, Norton! Okay. So, this stand, which I'm not even gonna try to say the name of, the Dunn's stand, it just annoys people, basically. It lets him do things to annoy people. And fuck off! Why is everything so inconvenient? Jesus Christ, anger. Alright, so this one, in terms of combat, it's a D in combat, because it doesn't actually directly, attack opponents, but it can, drive them nuts. And for utility, if your purpose is, annoying the hell out of people, it's A tier in that, but since that's the purpose, I'm gonna drop it down to B tier. And put it in this weird spot that's, kind of open for some reason. Alright, and then the Cramps, doesn't really have any combat use whatsoever. Actually, it's basically the same exact idea as Suburban Jungle, so wherever that is, Suburban Jungle, yeah, F tier combat. And utility, where's Suburban Jungle? C tier. So it's going to go into B tier since it's a bit more, like, has more uses than Suburban Jungle, because swamps are, like, more common than jungles. Okay. Oh crap, I need to do the floating ones, don't I? Before I do any of the other ground ones. Okay. Harvest for the World. Well, not too much to be said on it. Easily S plus tier combat because it's like busted and it's just like a one-hit kill stand. Unless the opponent doesn't have a soul for whatever reason. But like, you know, in the vast majority of situations, it's just a one-hit kill stand. And then utility, it has like soul manipulation uses. I'm gonna say it's like an A tier utility because like you wouldn't use it for that, but if you did, it could be pretty wild. Okay, all the power. It's just shockwaves from Battle Cat. So combat is like it's a B in combat probably because like it gives you advanced attack range basically. And then for utility, it's like, oh crap, I need to not be moving that so much because then my webcam gets in the way of things. Utility, I'm gonna say it's like an E in utility because it's not really something you have uses for really. Alright, Don't Fear the Reaper. The other Scythe stand. So in combat, it's like average in combat. It doesn't have any extraordinary combat powers. It's really more of a utility stand. And in utility, it's still only like average, which also gives me an opportunity to scrunch this down. Yeah, in utility, because if anyone says Anti's name, like his real name, then he's allowed to kill them without any kind of consequence, which is a pure utility ability and like a rather situational one at that. So yeah, I think C all around is pretty reasonable. It's also just a scythe he can pull out whenever, so. Okay. Anyways. Everybody wants to rule the world. I mean, technically S tier utility for sure. I wouldn't quite call it S plus, but you know. And then combat, it's like, I mean, really, if Larry really wanted to fight someone, he would win all the time, but it wouldn't necessarily be because of his stand. So I'll say it's in B, I guess, even though it technically you could just put it in S plus and be done with it, but you know, I'm just being reasonable here. Dark matter is very situational, whether it's good or not, because it relies on the presence of people who are giving off negative energy. So, or combat, it's just like, I mean, really, it's probably just a B around the board, maybe, because like it's just a general thing, and maybe a bit lower than that. Because actually, no, I think B is reasonable. It's like a low B though. Okay. Feral amalgamation. Basically, just worse. Like, just really bad, because it's just Murder Swarm, but without the advantages of Murder Swarm being Murder Swarm. It's like, I mean, okay, I'm gonna put it in C in combat, which is the same as Murder Swarm. solely because of the fact that it's so like disarming just to bring it out in the first place. And it's gonna be like an E or D in utility maybe. Yeah, that's reasonable. Because you can't really use it for much because of how oof it is. Psycho Killer, which let's just not talk about. I mean, combat, it's not really a combat stand, but I'll put it in E anyways because it's not really F worthy. And utility, it's like, C maybe? I don't know, this is the one that's best left unranked, but it has to be anyways. King of the World, kind of like In Dream, but actually it's just a lot like In Dream. Where's In Dream ranked? I don't know if it's better or worse than In Dream. I'm gonna say it goes in like the same tier as In Dream for combat, because it is shown to take like mental effort to use, much like In Dream. But it also probably has some more general capabilities than In Dream. So I think it's A around the board, just like In Dream as usual. How many times did I just say In Dream? Don't bother telling me, because it was a lot, and for no good reason. I've got the world on a string. This one, honestly, could arguably go at both the top and the bottom. So in combat, so basically anyone, it's just, okay. So assuming the user has no regard for their own well-being whatsoever, S+ in combat, because they can just let somebody attack them and then just kill themselves. And then that's just how that would play out. But obviously that's not really how most people would want to do it, so I'm going to say it balances out, because otherwise it would be a pure F, so it just averages out to C tier. And it goes in like D tier for utility, really, because, you know. Like, this is the type of stand you would give like, I don't know, it's whack. Okay, anyways, back to the non-aerial stand with PewDiePie. Okay, so PewDiePie lets him just have knowledge for his videos if he needs it. It's a pure utility stand, but it could have combat uses. Like, if you used it creatively, you could make use of it in combat to basically figure out your opponent. So honestly, it's a D tier in combat, not even an E. And for utility, it's just like again, if you used it creatively enough, it's like at least a B, like a mid B. Okay, Cold Comfort Lane. I don't think we've seen it in action, but from what I gather, it's like a low tier utility, but it could be used to get away if you wanted to easily. And then for combat, it's like at least an A tier in combat, maybe even S. I think it actually might be S. Let me just do a double check to make sure I have it right what it does. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's an S in combat, because, you know. Acacia Strain is an interesting one, because on its own, it's kind of useless, but I'm going to put it at like a C in combat, because it cannot deal direct damage, but it can like cause severe disorientation. And for utility, I mean, it would only really be useful if you're like trying to get away from someone, so I guess it'll go in D. Okay, Close to You. Just sure. Close to You. Let me just, I know what it does, but let me just make sure just how. Yep. It's a weird one. So it's like, I think it's an S. It's not quite S plus worthy. I do think it's at, like an S tier utility though, but not quite S plus. Because you know, it can be exploited basically to make him do whatever, which you know that's kind of the whole point. Whatever. And then combat, it's like not a combat thing, but it does by nature make it so he can deal with threats if they arise while he's doing his task. So I guess it's a D tier. Okay. Okay. Island Melody. These ones are weird. So combat, I mean, it has the boomerangs, which are shown to be like, so I'll put it, I think a B in combat is reasonable. And like, I don't know what utility it has, but maybe like E in utility? I don't know. Another standout I'm not going to try to pronounce, because it's like Albanian. We haven't really, we know what it does, because it just does all the things that a large two-headed bird could do. So I think in combat, that's like a solid C tier in combat, and like, I guess maybe a like B tier in utility, because like you could like, I don't know, do things with it, you know. Sure, there's things you could do. Led Zeppelin, currently a question mark, but it will be revealed what it does very soon. I'm juggling between a few ideas, but it's currently unknown. Hound Dog. Okay, so it like tracks people down basically, from what I understand. So I think it's like it's like a A tier combat, or, well, actually no. C tier combat, B tier utility seems reasonable to me. I need to scrunch down this C tier. Okay. So yeah, I think that's reasonable. Day of Chaos lets the hash squatch do things slowly and powerfully. I mean, it's very average because it trades off speed for strength, obviously. So I think C tier is reasonable there, and probably like D tier utility, I guess. You know. Shia LaBeouf lets you eat anything for sustenance. I mean, directly in combat, that's like not really. I guess that could act as like a self-heal sort of thing, but you know, I don't know. I guess E tier. And then for utility, it's like an A tier, I guess. Maybe B tier because it's like a bit of a situational thing, and you know, and it does like it's not just an instant heal or whatever. Banana Man, I think it's fair to say that's a F in terms of combat, and an E in terms of utility. Just because, you know, it's so specific as to how it works that it would never realistically even be seen. Friends are there. Right off the bat, utility is like F because it's a pure combat stand. And then combat is like, honestly, A. I would say S, but it's hard countered by opponents that don't wear clothes because it can't even activate on them, and you do need to make skin contact to activate it in the first place, so yeah. Friday is actually extremely powerful, but it's like B tier in combat, assuming there's like a one-on-one situation, it wouldn't really be helping you much, but there's a lot of places where it could work. And utility is like A tier, I guess, maybe. Because it's a really like disabling like assist stand. Like you need someone else for it to really work well, but when you have someone else, it works really well. Of course, the one time it was seen was against the Beast, which obviously was able to overcome it. What does Baby Shark do again? Oh. Jesus. That's terrifying. What does that... I don't like the implications of that. Well, I guess that's like a C tier combat and a like C tier utility. Like that's a weird use, but that's also really scary. Okay. Infernal Catharsis is pretty fucking powerful actually. I'm honestly, I think it's reasonable to say it's S tier combat and like C or D tier utility. D tier utility, I'm thinking. Because it's a lot like Kazumity, but in a more controlled state, kind of. Goofy Goober? I mean, I think it's like an E in combat. I think that's reasonable. And like, for utility, it's like, utility maybe a B? That seems okay. Yeah, let me, what's the recording time doing? 22 minutes, damn. We still got a lot to go. Jesus Christ. People, stop talking. I'm doing something. Okay, I am a machine. So, I mean, okay, S tier combat, question mark? Yeah, I think. Yeah, because it would be like, yeah, in between Welcome to the Circus and Harvest for the World. Because it's still situational in how it activates, but it's a lot more of a like actual thing that'll show up. And when it is able to activate, it's like Game Grover. And as a utility, I think, I think, honestly, S plus works for it, I think. It's probably the most utility of the, like, lurker stands we've seen so far. Well, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, City of Gold, aka fuck Hardshine for making me draw this, and I, like, gave up on it halfway through. By halfway, I mean, like, 1/6 of the way through. Well, if I recall, City of Gold, which I say if I recall and then I look it up, yeah, it has a long recharge, so basically, but if it hits, it's pretty good, so I guess it's like C tier, it balances out, so yeah. And then, for utility, I guess if you want to get money, but like, you know, it's a weird way and it has a long recharge, so. Alright, and let's just scrunch down this tier. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. So I ups to him, and he ups to me. So its main disadvantage is its range, and the fact that it's like, it has to catch up to its user once he leaves. But I think it's reasonable to say it's like, it's an extreme disruptor. So it's like an A in combat and like a B in utility. Like, yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay. Chickens in the pen. I technically know what it does, but I guess until it's revealed, I'll leave it as question mark, question mark, question mark. I mean, actually, wait. Okay, I think that's fair to just wait until it's seen in action, because, you know. Yeah. But it's probably pretty powerful. You Made Me Love You, I'll only be ranking You Made Me Love You and not That's Life for several reasons. But You Made Me Love You is like, it doesn't actually grant him any additional combat abilities, really. But it's still pretty good, just because it, like B tier there is reasonable. And I think, like, A tier utility, like, it's not really deserving of S tier, because, you know, it has a short range, and it requires, like, very strategic use, but yeah. Okay, One Fine Day is probably, like, I mean, the whole point is that it's, like, an insane, like, combat stand. And I guess it's, like, okay, let's start with C tier utility. And then, I guess, I don't know, we didn't really see it enough to warrant an S ranking. So I guess it's just a high A. Let me just, whatever. And I guess I can scrunch that A tier real quick. No, this is a wacky set of stands to be ranking, honestly. Like, probably one of the wackier ones that's been done. God fucking damn it! Shut the fuck up. Okay. Alright. So, Bring Me Back to Life. Acts 2 and 3 are basically not canon, so I won't even rank them. Okay. So, combat, it's an escape mechanism at best, so it's like D. And utility, it's like A, I think, is reasonable. Like, pretty straightforward. Timmy Trumpet, just a loud, obnoxious trumpet, basically. It's not really damaging, it's more just it gets people out of the way. And for utility, it's like, it's not really useful. Kind of like, a lot like Alpha Light himself. Okay, Mozart, I think, is honestly, ooh dear. Okay, its janky nature prevents it, I think, from being an S plus combat. Definitely an S plus utility, because of just how versatile it is. A lot like how mashup is in S plus. I think combat is A, though. Yeah, because it's a bit janky in actual combat. Confusion will be my epitaph. No combat capability, but I guess it's, well, I guess, like, yeah, no combat capability whatsoever, really, is F. And then for utility, it's like a bit of a limited time range, but for what it is, it's like, you know, so I guess it's a D. Okay, Stuck Like Glue. Actually an extremely powerful stand for what it is, because it's completely disabling when it does, okay, I don't know if it goes in S tier though, maybe A tier. A tier for combat, and like B tier for utility. I think that's reasonable. because it's not quite S-worthy, just because it just sticks them in place. Like, if they have ranged attacks, they could... Well, actually, no, because the gun would get all stuck up. But I'm sure there's ways to get around it if you really wanted to and had the means. But yeah, okay, block and load is not good on its own, but if you know how to use it, it's like a D for combat and like a C for utility. Even though it's a combat stand, it has a higher utility rating because that's how it would end up being used if the average person got a hold of it. Go Googles. How do you rank this? E in combat and like E in utility? Like, how do I rank Go Googles? I don't know. Okay, gonna fly now. Definitely like an S in utility. If not S plus. I think S though. Not quite worthy of S plus because you do have to do the montage first. And then for combat, it's not really directly good for combat, but like, you know, it could be, there's ways to make it work with that. Education connection. I don't think it's really been established what it does. So I think it goes in question mark for the time being. Okay, get on with it. Probably S tier utility, I think is reasonable. Yeah, that's a pretty safe thing to do. And then for combat, it's like E tier maybe. D tier maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's some way you could, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's some way to use it in combat that would make it somewhat worthwhile. Okay. Come together. We don't know enough about it yet to put it anywhere other than FF, honestly. Because it's hyper situational, and even what it does is, like, I guess maybe an E, I don't know, it's so hyper situational from what we know so far. But yeah, okay. Dreamland. Dreamland. Combat is like D, because it, utility also like D, like it's a weird one. But anyways, Scooby-Doo, where are you? Has that one been revealed? Nope. Okay. So that one's a question mark. Good day. I mean, for combat, you wouldn't really want to use it on your opponent, but I guess it's D tier, whatever. And then for utility, it's like A tier. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then, finally, Grim Grinning Ghouls. Combat. We have yet to see it in action in combat, so for the time being, I'm going to put it in A, maybe S. S feels like a safe assumption for just how bonkers this stand could in theory be. And honestly, S plus utility, maybe? I don't know. Well, See, I don't know how useful it would be. I guess maybe it's still like just because of how crazy and unpredictable it would be in action. I think SS is like a safe estimate, pun not intended, for where it would be. And with that, that's all the 49 stands from this one. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let me just save this, and then I'll stop the recording, and that's that.